From ancient kingdoms and mineral rushes to apartheid, Mandela's reconciliation, and today's political and economic crossroads are cinematic. Fact-checked exploration of South Africa's evolution. Minerals, oceans, cities of contradictions. South Africa is a place where ancient roots meet modern upheaval, a nation built on riches and divided by laws until courage, negotiation, and global pressure made a new era possible. This is the evolution of South Africa, a deep dive into the forces that shaped it and the questions that define its future. Quick snapshot. Geography, population, and why South Africa matters. South Africa sits at the southern tip of a vast continent, oceans on two sides, deserts and plateaus inland. It is home to roughly 64 to 65 million people in 2025, making it one of Africa's most populous nations. Its economy is among the continent's largest. Its cultural exports and political history ripple far beyond its borders. Understanding South Africa helps explain global debates about reconciliation, inequality, and resource politics. Colonial kingdoms and early encounters. Long before European arrivals, Southern Africa was a terrain of dynamic cultures. Hunter-gatherer communities left rock art on cliffs and in caves. From roughly the 11th century onward, complex societies emerged around trade and gold Mapungub, and later Great Zimbabwe linked regional trade networks that stretched to the Indian Ocean. Meanwhile, the Nguni people's ancestors of Zulu and Xhosa groups organized village kingdoms, cattle economies, and ritual life that would powerfully shape the region's social order. These colonial polities were not static. They traded, migrated, and adapted. The arrival of European mariners and later settlers began to tilt power in new directions, but the deeper history remained in oral memory, land practices, and political structures. Colonization, mineral rush, and the making of modern South Africa. European contact accelerated change. The Dutch established a refreshment station at the Cape in 1652. Later British rule reshaped administration and commerce. The real transformation came with minerals, diamonds 1867, and then gold on the Witwatersrand in the 1880s. Mines drew labor at scale, spurred railways, created boomtowns, and financed expanding capital. The mining economy placed control of land and labor at the center of politics and helped birth the racialized legislation that would later harden into apartheid. These decades made modern South Africa industrialized, export-oriented, and deeply unequal patterns that carried into the 20th century and were formalized by law. Apartheid, segregation, resistance, and international pressure. In 1948, a formal system of racial separation took legal shape. Apartheid. The state codified segregation across daily life, homes, work, education, and movement. Passed laws and forced removals fractured communities. But from the start, there was resistance. Local leaders, trade unions, churches, and the African National Congress ANC pushed back. Sharpeville in 1960 shocked the world. The 1976 Soweto uprising galvanized students and a new generation of activists. Over decades, international sanctions and domestic struggle increased the pressure on the regime. The moral and political work of the anti-apartheid movement combined legal cases, mass mobilization, and international diplomacy, a multifaceted struggle that set the stage for negotiated change. Transition, Mandela, negotiation, and the birth of the new republic. The transformation culminated in negotiation. Nelson Mandela's release in 1990 and the talks that followed led to South Africa's first multiracial elections in April 1994. Mandela became president. The new constitution placed reconciliation, human rights, and equal citizenship at the center of national life. That transition remains one of history's great negotiated settlements, imperfect, contested, but transformative. Mandela's presidency prioritized both symbolic healing and institutional reform, a new constitution, new legal frameworks, and a focus on nation building. Yet the legacies of dispossession and inequality were deep and would test the new democracy in the decades to come. Democracy's promise: economic reform and persistent inequalities. Post-apartheid South Africa pursued policies to democratize the economy and redress past injustices. Land reform debates, black economic empowerment programs, and social grants aimed at reducing poverty. Education and health reforms expanded access. Yet economic growth did not erase structural inequality. Unemployment and poverty rates remained high. Spatial apartheid persisted in cities, and many rural and township communities continued to lag. The tension is persistent. Strong institutions and a vibrant civil society, alongside unequal outcomes that reflect land, capital, and opportunity imbalances. This is the central policy and moral debate of modern South Africa. Contemporary challenges: unemployment, energy, crime, and governance. Today, South Africa faces multiple intersecting crises. Unemployment remains very high. Official estimates peaked above 30% in 2025. With youth unemployment far higher, a human and political emergency that drives social unrest. Energy is another fault line. Eskom's long struggle with aging infrastructure and maintenance has produced periodic load-shedding scheduled power cuts that disrupt homes and businesses, while Eskom's generation recovery plan produced improvements at times in 2025. The problem has political and economic resonance that governments must solve. Other issues include crime and governance challenges, corruption scandals, and service delivery failures that erode public trust. Yet, South Africa's democracy shows resilience. Active media, independent courts, and a vibrant civic sector keep contestation within political and legal channels. Cities, culture and opportunities. Cape Town, Johannesburg, creative economy. South Africa's cities are engines of culture and innovation. Cape Town's natural beauty and creative industries. Johannesburg's startup and financial sectors. And Durban's port and culture mixed together, they form a dynamic urban triangle. The country's music, film and art scenes, from township jazz to Kwaito to contemporary visual art projects, soft power across Africa and the world. Tourism, renewable energy investment, and a growing tech ecosystem offer pathways for inclusive growth. Policy and investment and reconcile equity with competitiveness. Summary: South Africa's story is a long braided line: ancient kingdoms and colonial extraction, brutal apartheid and negotiated freedom, and a modern republic still wrestling with inequality and opportunity. The country remains vital to the continent and the world, a test case for reconciling historical injustice with democratic rule. If this video sparked questions, tell us which chapter you want next: land reform, the mining economy, or township innovations. Comment below. Sources are in the description. Thank you for watching.